Origin Protocol. Expanded Files. Case 001, Chapter 4. In February she stopped asking questions. That was when I became truly afraid. Through autumn and winter she had been a presence defined by inquiry. Questions about the texts. Questions about the network. Questions that sounded like scholarship and were something else entirely. I had spent months listening to those questions, cataloging them, understanding what she was assembling from the answers. And then, in the first week of February, the questions stopped. She still attended every session. She still sat in the correct places, spoke at the correct moments, maintained every appearance of a scholar engaged in her work. But she was no longer gathering. I could feel the difference the way you feel the difference between a held breath and a released one. Something had shifted. She had everything she came for. I thought about this for several days. About what it meant. About what comes after the gathering is complete. I had been watching her for 4 months. I had been precise about it. Methodical. I had told myself I was a witness, as Master Li had asked me to be, and a witness observes without acting, and I had held to this. I had not acted. But in the first week of February I understood that the situation was changing in ways that my role as witness had not accounted for. She was no longer preparing. She was waiting. And I did not know what she was waiting for. On the 9th of February the colonial police came to Annong. Not to the Siouan. Not directly. They came to the town. 3 plainclothes detectives from the High Special Police. I knew what they were because my father had described them to me when I was young. The way they held themselves. The particular quality of their attention. Men whose profession was to watch other people watching. I saw them in the market on the morning of the 10th. I did not approach. I bought the things I had come to buy and I walked back to the Siouan at a pace that was not too quick. I told myself I was not afraid. This was not true. The detective spent 3 days in Annong. I observed them as carefully as I had observed anything in my life. They went to certain houses. They spoke to certain people. I recognized some of the people they spoke to. Names I knew. Faces from the village. They were not investigating the deaths. That much was clear to me. They were confirming something they already knew. Verifying information that had been provided to them by a source they trusted. I thought, the information came from the Siouan. I thought, she gave it to them. I sat with this understanding for a long time. It rearranged things. Not the fundamental shape of what I had suspected. But the details. The precise nature of what she had been doing. She had not been gathering intelligence for the independence movement. She had been gathering intelligence about the independence movement. For the colonial administration. For the High Special Police. The 3 men who had died. Park Jae-won. Cho Sung-il. Lee Hyun-chul. They had been the source of that intelligence before her arrival. And then they had died, and she had taken their place, and now she was providing what they had provided, but more completely. More accurately. Because she had spent 4 months assembling the entire picture. I understood now why she had stayed after the 3 deaths. She had not finished. She had been completing the map. Every connection. Every contact. Every person in the network who had received documents or passed information or provided shelter. And then she had given this to the High Special Police. And the High Special Police had sent 3 men to Annong to begin the work of dismantling what she had described. I felt something I had not felt before in all of those months of watching. Not fear. Fear I had been feeling since October. This was different. This was the specific cold that comes when you realize the thing you have been watching has already moved past the moment when watching was useful. I had been a witness. And witnesses do not act. And now the thing I had witnessed was in motion and there were real people about to be arrested and I had said nothing. I went back to the Ch.04. She was in the courtyard. I had spent 4 months not meeting her eyes. Not deliberately avoiding them. Simply not offering the acknowledgement that eye contact provides. A form of invisibility I had practiced since childhood. She was standing near the gate, looking toward the road. I crossed the courtyard toward the storage rooms. I had a reason to be there. A task that required me to pass through that space. I was halfway across the courtyard when she turned. And she looked directly at me. Not a glance. Not the casual acknowledgement of someone passing through a shared space. She looked at me with the full attention of someone who had known I was there for a very long time and had been waiting for this moment. I stopped. We stood in the February courtyard, bare trees around the stone walls, cold air between us, and she looked at me with an expression I did not have words for then and do not have words for now. It was not threatening. It was not reassuring. It was something else. Something that did not fit any category I had available to me at 21 years old. She looked at me for perhaps 4 seconds. Then she turned back to the road. I walked to the storage rooms. I did what I had come to do. I walked back to my room. I sat down. I did not move for a very long time. I have thought about those 4 seconds for 48 years. What was in that look? What she was telling me, if she was telling me anything. Whether it was acknowledgement or warning or something that has no name in any language I know. What I know is this, after those 4 seconds, everything changed again. Not my role. Not my decision to remain a witness. But my understanding of what I was witnessing. She had known I was watching. She had always known. And she had let me watch. This is where Chapter 4 ends. In Chapter 5 I will tell you what happened to the people on the list. What happened to the 3 plainclothes detectives. What happened in the Ch.04 in the last days of February. But first I need you to understand those 4 seconds in the courtyard. Because everything that comes after depends on understanding what it means when a predator looks directly at a witness and does not move. Origin Protocol. Expanded Files. Case 001, Chapter 4. End of record.